R&D, you know this feeling all too well. You've just had a massive breakthrough, but now you're staring at this digital mountain of regulatory submissions. Today, we're going to talk about how you can conquer that mountain, not by throwing more people at it, but with some seriously smart automation.
I mean, just picture it. You've got these brilliant engineers, the people you hired to literally invent the future, and they're stuck in a time loop. They're clicking through ancient-looking government portals, uploading the same document for the 10th time, and juggling a dozen different logins. It's not just inefficient, It's a soul-crushing waste of pure talent.
And that frustration, well, it's not just a morale problem. It has a real, tangible cost. So let's actually break down the incredibly high price of sticking with this manual grind. Okay, so on one hand, you have the old way, and the pains are obvious, right? First off, it is painfully slow. We're talking about processes that can drag on for days or even weeks. And because a human is doing it, it's dangerously error-prone. One tiny typo, one wrong document upload, and boom, rejection. You're right back at square one. All of that together creates this massive cloud of risk. The risk of compliance fines, blown deadlines, and a real hit to your reputation. And this is where that talent drain really happens. Just look at these tasks. Each one is a small, tedious step. Logging in here, uploading there, filling out metadata, capturing some confirmation ID. Individually, they're just kind of annoying. But when you string them all together, they create this swamp of high-stakes busy work that is just drowning your most valuable people. But what if you could just drain the swamp? What if you could break this cycle once and for all? Well, that's exactly where robotic process automation, or RPA, comes in. And specifically, we're talking about using a tool like ZAPTEST. To put it really simply, ZAPTEST helps you create a software robot, think of it as a digital employee, that can do every single one of those tedious tasks for you. It logs in, it uploads the files, it enters all the data, and it saves the proof of submission, all without a human ever having to touch a keyboard. It's true end-to-end automation. So let's go back to that comparison slide from before. This is the payoff. The chaos of the manual process gets completely flipped on its head. With ZAPTEST, what was slow is now instant. What was error-prone becomes perfectly accurate every single time, and what was high risk becomes reliably, demonstrably compliant. It is a total game changer. So you're probably wondering, okay, how does this magic actually work? You might be picturing some hugely complex 6-month coding project, but honestly, the reality is surprisingly simple. It really boils down to 3 simple steps. First, you just capture the workflow. Your expert does the submission one last time, and ZAPTEST basically watches over their shoulder, recording every click and keystroke. It literally learns by watching. Second, ZAPTEST takes that recording and instantly builds a reusable software robot from it. And finally, you execute. With just one click, that robot runs the entire process perfectly. And maybe best of all, it creates a bulletproof audit trail along the way. Okay, so that's the how. But what about the so what? What does this really mean for an R&D team in the real world? Well, the results, they aren't just small improvements. We're talking about a radical transformation. Let's just start with the headline number, because it's a big one. We are not talking about a 10 or 20% improvement here. We are talking about an over 80% reduction in the submission cycle time. Think about that. A task that used to take a whole week can now be done in less than a day. And honestly, it's about so much more than just speed. With ZAPTEST, those expensive manual errors, they're just gone, eliminated. You get built-in audit readiness because every single action the robot takes is logged. That leads to way faster approvals from regulators. And it means you can scale your operations without ever having to hire another person just for data entry. But the single biggest benefit, it's not something you can easily measure in hours saved or dollars earned. It's about what happens next. It's about what happens when you give all of that time back to your team. It's about unlocking their real potential. This is the core idea, right? This is the whole point. You hired brilliant people to solve complex problems and invent what's next. ZAPTEST frees them from the drudgery of being administrators so they can get back to doing exactly that, innovating. It lets your experts be experts again. So I'll just leave you with this one thought. If you could give your team back 80% of the time they're currently losing to this regulatory grind, what could they build? What new problems could they solve? That's the real power here. Thanks so much for tuning in.